What up, say?
We all know that as a politician in America, part of the reason you become a politician is so you can insider trade because it's actually illegal. And so if you look at some of Nancy Pelosi's trades and follow them, she's made billions of dollars from knowing what's going on. And so there's this new bill that's been proposed called let's bring it up. I'll actually bring up the what it's called. It's Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments, which stands for the Pelosi Act, which is just hilarious from Trump and Elon and whoever's proposed it. So I thought that was a funny way to kick it off.
That's too good because there's actually the Pelosi-tracker. It's an X page and it's trading like for years now, well on top of the S&P 500. So if you've just literally copied her trades, because they're all public, your compounding rate of return is enormous. So I know there's people that actually just follow her and have just made a fortune of it. So potentially this could be the end of that. That would be not great for people. The cool thing about NotebookLM is the workflow is now can just stay within that application. So enormous fan. I also want you to come back to us next week and start engaging with that podcast, because you can add yourself talking in as well. And then I want you to defend your wine habits, because you came back to us last week with a wine app, wine-snob, and I was saying that was going to ruin my social mode, which is being the wine snob at the table. So you can't come back, start a wine app, and then start sulking to NotebookLM about your wine habits. So either join us at the wine table and don't regret it, or continue your research. The research is going to give you some bad, what I'd call bad advice, but it's going to distract you from, the overall experience. So anyway, at your own peril.
Welcome to Built to Scale, hosted by myself, Scott Wilcox from WBuild, where we craft some of the world's finest homes. And Matt Parrott from BuildPass, he's on a mission to build the world's smartest operating system for construction sites. We're two Aussie founders with global ambitions in business, technology, AI, and robotics. Every week, we're going to distill a broad set of intelligent insights into founder-driven takes that elevate your edge. Listen in to get our Aussie lens on the global playing field for anyone keen to stay ahead, or in short, for those who refuse to be left behind.
All right. Well, hello everyone. Hello, Maddie.
Hey, Scotty.
Good to see you back from the US. How are you feeling?
Jet lagged, but I am feeling good. It was an early start today. I was up at 2 a.m, couldn't sleep, so straight to the office on my son's birthday. Felt a bit awkward about that one.
I pre-warned you. I pre-warned you before you left. That was risky behaviour.
Risky behaviour. We got to this night, and I did fly in to his first birthday party on Sunday, so I made that. I didn't miss the flight. But no, mate, all good. We'll get over the jet lag soon. It's nice to be in the office nice and early when you can actually get some work done.
Yeah, no, welcome to international founder mode. I've been stuck there for the last few months. It ends up, when it becomes habit, it's just that's the worrying sign. I had a similar story. My coffee man, which before 6 a.m. is in BP. It's not at the the local coffee shop. I got to work the other day at 11:30 at night, and he's like, "Mate, even for you, it was like an intervention." He was like, "This you're taking it too far. I know you work all day." So that was jet lag off my last trip. So how was the States?
It was good. Yeah, really good, productive. Spent all that time in Texas, flew out of Dallas after a conference there. But mate, the States is on fire. I thought it was funny seeing the most recent addition to the Congress website. We all know that as a politician in America, part of the reason you become a politician is so you can insider trade because it's actually illegal. And so if you look at some of Nancy Pelosi's trades and follow them, she's made billions of dollars from knowing what's going on. And so there's this new bill that's been proposed called let's bring it up. I'll actually bring up the what it's called. It's Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments, which stands for the Pelosi Act, which is just hilarious from Trump and Elon and whoever's proposed it. So I thought that was a funny way to kick it off.
That's too good because because there's actually the Pelosi-tracker. It's an X page and it's trading like for years now, well on top of the S&P 500. So if you've just literally copied her trades, because they're all public, your compounding rate of return is enormous. So I know there's people that actually just follow her and have just made a fortune of it. So potentially this could be the end of that. That would be, not great from people.
Yeah, it's going to ruin everyone's ride. But anyway, she's made the bag. So, I mean, we're laughing at her, but we're all
She's
probably
80.
just a little bit jealous. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the timing of it's actually quite funny. She's like tapped out. She's like, all right, I'm going to retire now. I'll let someone do the act.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, what's news in your world?
So I haven't had the travel like you, so it's nice to be grounded here in Melbourne amongst my team. We have had the 2 short back-to-back weeks, which was ridiculous. And then to throw it in the mix, I've converted to Mac after talking about it here with you and you sort of showing off about how well the podcast studio works under a Mac. So I've come across, but it's been a wild ride. It has been a wild 72 hours. The mouse goes the wrong way. So when you scroll on a mouse on Mac, you have to press up for it to go down.
We can fix that. All right.
Okay, that's a technical issue. And then as we've spoken about all the different tools we use, all the different applications we have, the password fatigue is real. Like this, bringing, because you got Chrome has got a certain amount of your passwords. Apple's got some passwords. Microsoft had some passwords, two-factor authentication, all of it. It's, as I go to do every task throughout the week, I realize, I'm on a new computer and I've got this new thing that I've got to get into. So it's been a lot, but I'm seeing the forest through the trees. I'm a believer. It's just,
hell yeah.
It's been tough.
Well, on the passwords, we don't do ads, so this is not a sponsored post, but you should download OnePassword.
Okay.
It can even do the two-factor authentication. So even if it requests a code, it automatically does it for you. All the passwords in the one spot. You can use it personal and at work. Again, I wish they were sponsoring me, but it's such a good tool. You need to get on it.
Okay, I will get on it, and I'll have a Password 1 t-shirt for the next show, and hopefully we get some rev, because we're pre-rev, but not that stops you from getting a big valuation, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. AI news. So, look, one of the big ones that I was really interested in was BMW has announced that they are integrating with DeepSeek. So BMW, the car maker, and then DeepSeek, which is that AI LLM, large language model, that competes with the likes of GPT, so the ChatGPT model. There was heaps of news about DeepSeek probably a few months ago when they basically broke the internet, and they broke the stock market as well when people realized that China could create a large language model like ChatGPT for much less the price, $5 million compared to $5 billion, for example. So that's DeepSeek. They're still going. They're doing well. And what BMW has announced is that they're integrating with DeepSeek for their Chinese vehicles. So what I found interesting about this was we've talked about before on the pod that China is very self-sufficient. They've basically vertically integrated their economy. They can do a bit of everything. They've got the energy, they've got the AI now, they've got the manufacturing, they've got the people, and they're actually a bigger economy technically than the US if you look at how much they spend. So the vertical integration, this was one of the pieces that they didn't have, the innovation and the AI. But with companies like DeepSeek, BMW is now saying, well, with my Chinese vehicles, rather than going to America to get the intelligence that's going to run these vehicles, they can actually use a Chinese company like DeepSeek. So another big move in the Chinese space. And I was actually interested because like I've told you before, my wife's parents are from China. I've been to China many times, and I know a lot of Chinese people that love BMWs. So even though they've got BYD and all of these Chinese companies, I was wondering how much BMW had a focus on China. So I had a look using ChatGPT at how many vehicles that they actually sell into China. 29% of BMW's vehicles are sold into China, which is just massive when you think about it. So it's no wonder that they're investing in something like DeepSeek for their vehicles. It's such a big part of their market. So that's really big news on the AI front.
Yeah, well, and I think BMW, obviously, whoever's working in the innovation department there, they're on top of their game, because they've actually been caught up in more news with our man. So Figure AI, our man Brett Adcock, who we're sort of sycophants basically of at this point. And so Figure AI is a humanoid robotics company, and Brett Adcock is the CEO and founder. They've actually been caught up in some of this BMW news because they're in the middle of raising a $40 billion US round. And we've spoken about the secondary markets on this show where, it allows other investors that aren't part of the official round to get involved. And I think we could have got involved, you and I, about 2 months ago at maybe 10 billy. So now we've 4 times ourselves.
So the 40, that's valuation, right?
That's valuation.
Yep.
Yeah. I think they're taking on, I think 1.5 or something. But the valuation, and this is a pre-revenue valuation, but some of the way that the valuation was stoked by Brett Adcock, who's, great on X and great on bringing people inside the room in terms of what they're doing there. Some of it was built off the fact that he basically said, this is not a test. We are part of basically the production line, the live production line of BMW. So I thought, oh my God, how, right on the cutting edge, BMW have already got humanoid robots in their production line. Anyway, and then the Fortune magazine, during all this, reported that, in fact, they interviewed BMW and there was only 3 robots and it was a test. Literally the opposite to what he said during a raise.
Talk about being thrown under the bus.
Thrown under the bus. So our man, who's usually pretty jolly, got unjolly and just went live and said, we've gone in with a hard lawsuit here because we had more than 3 robots and we were part of the production line. BMW have now taken a step back and gone Switzerland and gone, look, potentially there was more robots. Potentially it was live. Potentially it was a test. They've, pissed off a supplier here. And, they don't want to really get caught up in it all, but it is a very spicy week, for Figure AI in that sense. It's funny, this litigation, the litigation, we spoke about it last week in this space. It's really interesting to see these tech founders, super entrepreneurial. I'm tipping most of them are non-litigious in nature. But then, once they get these valuations, they get these boards, and I'm sure they get this pressure to, potentially defend themselves. And they're probably thinking, let's just focus on what we're doing. But anyway, to tie up BMW, going into China, now they're part of this. They're obviously putting the foot on the gas. Well, not literally, because it's all electric, but they're going right into it, and they caught up our man in their issues. So anyway, very much a watch this space. Feel free to look into it yourself, but really interesting.
Love it. Yeah, well, BMW, seeing them on the news a little bit, it's cool to see them working with companies like Figure and integrating AI. So it's one of those companies that you feel like, are they going to be on the edge? Are they going to be getting pushed out as a car company? And they're trying to stay ahead. So it's cool to see. But speaking of people who have been in the news a bit, our man Mark Zuckerberg has been trying to humanize himself for the last 12 months, wearing his gold chains and his frizzy hair and his sun-bleached skin. But he's been pretty rampant on the podcast. And one of the things that I thought was a really interesting concept that he talked about in relation to AI was this idea of an intelligence explosion. And it's theoretical. It's not sort of happening yet. But there's this concept that, to me, it's actually a bit scary, but that with what we're doing with AI, if it is producing insights and knowledge at a different level to what humans are producing now, if that knowledge can then be used to go and train the AI, because this is how AI works, right? It takes all of the human knowledge, it trains itself, and then it uses it to produce insights. If these insights are at a greater level and are discovering things above the layout that we already know, and not just teaching us peasants on how things work, but if it's actually generating breakthroughs in technology, for example, can that then be used to train the AI to make it smarter? And you have this kind of feedback loop. It's recursive. And so the intelligence explosion was explained quite well by Zuck. But this could be a tipping point of AI and AGI just becoming super intelligent. And what does that mean for humanity and society? I don't know. But it's a pretty cool concept, if not a little bit scary in itself.
Yeah, I feel like that was always the ultimate fear. But then Sam Altman, even as late as last week, has said, because what bores me to tears is when you get some big show, like I think he did TEDx, and instead of asking him like all the cool things they're working on and stuff, they just asked him about like 45 minutes of safety and how you're holding this back. I'm like, how would you take 45 minutes of Sam Altman and spend your whole time talking about that? But one of the things he always says to defend themselves is that the models can't get better. We release them and they're closed off. They can't improve whatever we hand you. And when you speak to even a new model, it'll say in 2024, this is, what's going on. And you realize they closed training that model 4 months ago. And they spent 4 months fine tuning it and making it safe. So that idea of the intelligence getting more intelligent itself, that was always the feedback loop where I feel like it's always going, but then all the smart people in the room are all telling me no. And even, the guys from Google and stuff like that, it seems like their mindset to date has been to train the model and then close it off. So it's interesting to have someone in that sort of, Magnificent Seven space, like Zuck, who's just everything from him's open source. To him, it's all like games at this point because his revenue is ad revenue and he's got all our data. So to him, he's sort of like this outside player who's can just be as disruptive as he wants and he can say whatever he wants. So if he's saying that though, you never know where the next thing they're going to do. They could just jump in. They had that almost unlimited parameter model come out recently on Llama, all open source. So anyway, I like the Zuck. Also, I like him being cool. A couple of people might see this week him jumping on the Theo Von podcast. I've only seen some highlights, but they are fabulous. Like just those two together in a room. It's almost like they could just do their own podcast. Just some of the highlights I've seen about Theo Von joking at him that he's trying to start he's been trying to humanize himself over the last 2 years, and Zuck and Theo's like, oh, I don't even know why you're trying. You're such a natural character. And he's like, look, no, I'm not. And he goes, and he just says, he's just trying to be positive with him. He's like, look, there's situations where you're going to come across as a normal guy. And Zuck goes, I'm still trying to find one of those situations.
Theo's great. His ability to just make anything funny is so good. Like he makes Mark Zuckerberg look hilarious, which is that's a real talent. So yeah, I definitely recommend watching that. It's a great one.
And so our friends over at OpenAI, so I think this show we could just have an OpenAI segment because their cadence seems to be weekly on releases, usually in response to someone else's release. What have they been up to this week?
Yeah, so I'm going to change tack here a bit. I actually think the updates from OpenAI are a little bit underwhelming in the past week, and maybe that's because the bar has gotten so high. But you look at what the companies are doing. We've got humanoid robots coming out. We've got Musk working on Neuralink and XAI. And so I think some of the updates from ChatGPT, they were a little bit underwhelming as to how heavily they were promoted, but things like a better shopping experience so you can get quick direct to buy through ChatGPT. That's cool. It's nothing groundbreaking. The ability to use ChatGPT through WhatsApp. Great. I've got the app. I don't really need that. Better citations on things, seeing trending searches, all kind of things that just you would expect of their product anyway. So I didn't think it was much of a release. But what I do think the play is, and Sam has said this from the start, OpenAI is they've got a mission. They want to deliver AGI, and really what they want to do is they want to own the consumer experience. Anytime someone is interfacing with AI, they want it to be through ChatGPT or any of the apps that they build. And so he's basically said, work with us, use our models to create your own businesses. That's great. But if you compete with us, that's a bad idea. We are going to steamroll you. And so just some of the updates that they've made is it's features that you have in tools like Perplexity, which is another way of searching the web using AI basically and getting insights. So it's just basically saying you don't need Perplexity anymore. You can just do it in ChatGPT. And that's probably the strategy. So it's a smart strategy. There's some cool updates, but to be honest, nothing to talk about too much in my opinion, and a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah, I think it's time to call it on Sam and OpenAI. Like, I love the brand and the product. The core mission is not AGI. The core mission is to be the Apple of AI. Like, he's a product guy. They need to stop with this. You know, they could change their name if they want, but he wants to be the number one direct-to-consumer AI product of choice. And they should put it on their wall, own it. You know, capitalism wins. Because I actually don't mind that, because Apple, we spoke about it last week. Like, we just spoke about, imagine if we had Steve Jobs in this moment, you know, the kind of things we would all be enjoying, and we miss that. But Sam is, I feel, as almost finely in tune at that level in terms of founder and CEO that cares so much about the user experience and product. And there's a lot of AI companies who don't have that product consumer first experience at heart. There are a lot of companies with a lot of geeks doing a lot of AI work, thinking about like, what's the next level of model or next level of math, you know, equation that we can do to deliver something. But they're product focused. He's going to keep rolling out these little retail consumer experiences, and some of them are going to be good and some of them are going to be not. But I don't mind them just being product focused. I think he would be checking in with the actual tech team like once a month. Like what's actually going on behind the scenes in deep research. I think he sounds like he's finally tuned into the product experience.
I think you should go and do a branding session with Sam and just mention that we're going to be the Apple of AI, because Apple's messed it up. I think that's a really good idea.
And mate, in terms of AI, you and I had a chat during the week, and basically we want to feel like we want to be able to deliver, apart from AI news, just how we're leveraging tools and some how-tos and some quick takeaways that people listening or even people around us can take away and add straight away into their life or into their workflow. So what are some of the tools you're using, or the little hacks, or what have you been playing with? What tools have you been playing with?
Yeah. So I think this can become a regular segment, because we are both absolute nerds with AI and we're trialing things all the time. So a couple of things that I've been doing recently, they're quite basic, but I think people should look at. So the first one is use OpenAI ChatGPT to learn about some kind of topic. So one thing that I wanted to learn about, I came back from the US feeling a bit unhealthy. I'd eaten terrible food. I had a bit to drink. And I said, I really want to get healthy again. A bit of like a New Year's resolution, but in April. And so, but also I love my wine. So I wanted to do some research on like how much wine can you drink without like it negatively affecting your longevity? Can you have a glass a night or this? And I didn't want to get all this BS from people on X. I wanted to get medically proven, peer-reviewed journals. And so I went through, and I can share what my prompt was. It basically said, look at, you are the best researcher. Look at only peer-reviewed journals and medically proven studies, and tell me about, for a 30-year-old male, how often should I drink wine? How many can I have a night or a week without negatively affecting my longevity? So I put that in and was great. So that's number one. Click the deep research mode, get it to do that. It's delivered this whole paper basically that just outlines everything. But I didn't want to read it. I was busy, probably it only would take me 10 minutes to read, but I was busy. I was doing things. And so what you can do, there's a tool called NotebookLM that I think we've discussed before from Google. And you can literally take the output of what ChatGPT has given you. You can put it into NotebookLM. You just copy it in, and then you can turn that into a podcast. So my prompt was, turn this into a funny and engaging podcast, make it lighthearted, and click that generate. From there, it takes like a couple of minutes, and you can then go and share that. Share link. I sent it to myself on my phone, and then I listened to it on a walk. And you can just listen to it. You can lock your phone. And so it was actually pretty good. It wasn't too cringy. It's literally a podcast that sounds real, that is in an engaging way. And it's a new way of actually consuming this content that I had generated for myself. So I just think that that's, a really good way to learn about topics in, for people who are busy. You can go for a walk and you can listen to a podcast that you've just generated on something that you wanted to know about. So that was number one. The other thing that I think is really cool is this concept of phone agents. So an agent that can be on the phone for you. And because we work with a lot of trade businesses, everyone knows that having someone in the office to answer the phone for you is expensive. So what you can do now is you can just set up an AI phone agent. It's very easy to buy a number and link it. You say what the agent should sound like, how they should respond, and then you can set up pathways to do certain things. So if you were running a small business and someone inquired about your services, it can talk about the services for you. It can answer opening hours, and it could go and book a meeting or something like that. And I did all of this in literally 5 minutes. I used a tool called bland.ai to set it up. Again, I can post a link to an intro or something, but if you run a small business, I would definitely recommend looking at a tool like Bland AI and setting up a phone agent and seeing what they can do. I think you'll be surprised at, number one, the quality of them, but at number two, how easy they are to set up. So that's my two. Deep research into podcasts, that's 100% the way to go. And phone agents, they're going to be a thing of the future, especially for small business. But mate, what have you been doing with AI?
Well, on that, obviously, I think I've mentioned to you, I'm a huge NotebookLM fan, have been for a while. They've actually a couple of bolt-ons in the last month or so. You can do that deep research inside NotebookLM now because they're leveraging Gemini's latest model. So, and also within the research, it will scrape the model, plus it will grab any YouTube videos as well. And in that research thing, and then you can click, it'll give you 10 options of things that you want included in the research. So it'll say, do you want these papers out of MIT and Harvard and stuff? Do you want this YouTube video? And you go, that YouTube video is probably just one of us, talking about wine. Let's take that one out. And then, so that they're actually, the cool thing about NotebookLM is the workflow is now can just stay within that application. So enormous fan. I also want you to come back to us next week and start engaging with that podcast, because you can add yourself talking in as well. And then I want you to defend your wine habits, because you came back to us last week with a wine app, wine-snob, and I was saying that was going to ruin my social moat, which is being the wine snob at the table. So you can't come back, start a wine app, and then start sulking to NotebookLM about your wine habits. So either join us at the wine table and don't regret it, or continue your research. The research is going to give you some bad, what I'd call bad advice, but it's going to distract you from, the overall experience. So anyway, at your own peril with your deep research.
Yeah. I've really shown live a flip in thinking, a bit of a midlife crisis, maybe between episodes.
Yeah, we understand, mate. You're jet lagged, but you'll be back come Friday. What are we now? We're Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. Come Friday afternoon, you'll be back on. You'll be back on board.
I'll be back on board promoting Super Snob again.
So, tools for me. One over the weekend, but there are so many. But the key to unlocking any model for sort of retail use and for personal use, I think, is prompting. It's really, most people have been using prompt as almost search and then getting search type results. And I don't think that's really what you want to be using these models for. You want to be using them for advice, action, being a thought partner, being a business partner, being a co-founder, and you want them to be honest. And at the moment, there's been a lot of feedback to ChatGPT about it almost being, especially on the 4.0 release, which is for the average person spending $20 or the average person spending nothing. I believe that's the main model. It's become a bit of a sycophant, and even Sam agreed that this week that they got it wrong. And the reason it has become that is because the more that you have someone nice talking to you and reinforcing all of your amazing ideas and points, you're going to use it more. It's going to make you feel good. It's going to give you confidence. So it's not like having a thought partner. It's like having, sycophant, just this agreeable human, person that just, says everything you're doing is fantastic and don't worry, you have no blind spots. So last week we spoke about me, putting in a prompt, where I said, be brutal, be, an advisor with all these skills and show me all my blind spots. And I called it an autistic therapist. But it was really good. But now there's probably some more structure to that. So HumorPrompts, check out that site. An amazing set of prompts. They're calling it, the GitHub of, prompts. So, just somewhere where everyone can go, basically figure out what they're wanting their model to produce for them. And for me, using some of these prompts and throwing them into the O3 model, which I believe is on limited use unless you have Pro. So once again, spending my $300 wisely this month. The O3 model, because it's got use of all the tools within the ecosystem of ChatGPT, has been a game changer. So it can do image gen. It's unlimited voice, and the model's got enormous reasoning capacity. So that sort of, and a lot of people online have basically said the same thing. I think Sam said, and sorry for referring to him like 10 times already in the pod, but he even said this week, if you're not spending a couple hours a day with O3, like you're going backwards. And I'm completely aligned with that. We just had the long weekend here, the Anzac Day long weekend. I checked my usage. I spent 12 hours of the weekend with O3 in voice. So it included as well, and this is another little hack for people, because with voice mode, if ever you breathe deeply or you drop something on the table, or for my toddlers in the background, it was impossible to use voice because it would cut out as soon as it was talking to you, and it heard anything from you, it would cut out and you have to say, please keep going. And it just became this terrible conversation. But now whatever they've done, they've managed to lock in on when you're actually talking, it listens, but then when there's background noise amongst your microphone, it keeps talking, which has been a huge unlock, because I went to the gym for a couple of hours, which included a run, weights, and a sauna. Got a little bit weird in the sauna when the other people came in, but I talked to the O3 model the whole time. And it was high level conversations. And the fact, I'm going for a run, I'm like breathing. It wasn't picking up on me breathing as talking. So there's some serious thought and intelligence that's gone into that. But I think for people that can afford it, because I'm not sure where Gemini's at in terms of that conversational piece with voice, but voice is a huge unlock for me. So I think, if you can get the O3 model going on voice, and just whenever you've got time where you're not surrounded by people and expected to engage with them, just keep talking and keep, thinking through ideas, but then also use some initial prompts to start that conversation, that get you the brutal and honest advice or whatever you're chasing. But to unlock and get it out of sycophant mode, you really need to kick off the conversation with a prompt that's well structured, and get some more honest feedback.
I love that. That is such an unlock, the ability to figure out when you're speaking versus not. Because like you mentioned, part of the reason we would use this is so that you can go about day-to-day life and learn something and discover something and get some feedback on whatever you're thinking about. And if you can do that while, having background noise, being at the gym, whatever it might be, massive unlock. Being on the train, someone just thinks you're on the phone to a really smart person. That's just so exciting to me, because with AI, we have always talked about the ability for it to amplify the human element of things. And if I can get my job done and learn while I'm going out on walks, and I can be a bit more mobile, that's just a better life to live. That you can remain active and do all these things that typically you'd be sitting in an office in front of a screen doing. So I think that's a huge unlock. And we've called this the sort of AI how-tos segment. I would really recommend that everyone goes just have a conversation with ChatGPT or Grok or any of these models that offer voice. It is so powerful, and I haven't actually used O3 yet. So the fact that it's got that upgrade to block out the background noise is a bigger announcement than I think people realize.
Yeah, and especially we've spoken about Elysium here, which is our sort of automated design, build, live with automation business side of our business. In true fashion. So what we're saying there is humans are the last option at any part of the workflow. So I know you built the Scale podcast on a plane. I had my first go with O3 and then into Lovable. Now I have no technical experience and no ability to, I can't even vibe code, let alone code, right? Like I'm completely hands off. So that was, so to be able to, like what I was doing at the gym and stuff was actually building a brand. And conveying that brand and having, the core focus and principles and the message. So you're building out a business while running basically. And then when I got home, Lovable had an upgrade on the weekend where they basically had, the next tier of just prompt, type website. But I was able to.
Or just as a reminder, Scotty, what's Lovable?
Sorry, Lovable is, well, you're probably better to explain it than me. So do you want to probably explain that one?
Yes, basically a software development environment where you can build websites or even full apps by just using prompts and text. So you can actually just type in, this is what I want the website to look like, or this is what I want the app to do. It will go away and it does it for you in a collaborative way in what people have termed sort of vibe coding, which Scott just made reference to. So it's a website that allows you to do that, and it's come a long way. And I think you're talking about they've actually just announced another version.
Yeah, so I think they did a bit of an upgrade, and previously I tried to use it and it was just not really bridging the gap. So it obviously bridged the gap from you, who has a software background, to be able to vibe code a website. But I would say once you told me that and had the big flex on the show, I went to try it and it was no good for me. Like I was like, back to Squarespace, stay in my lane, which is another website, but that's a website builder with templates. So not just straight from a prompt. So then I tried it on the weekend and I think the upgrade had happened an hour before I started trying. But one of the good things was I was able to, because ChatGPT and other models are aware of tools now. So because I said, I want to now take the branding I've done with you and build a website, please give me the appropriate prompt to go into Lovable. So as opposed to me just sort of going into Lovable and writing a dumb prompt, ChatGPT built out the prompt once it understood the brand. So that was the workflow, was developing the brand with ChatGPT and then asking it to give me the prompt to build a website. And that really helped. Now the website's not amazing, but it's still, we're now live, Elysium.ai, Elysium.com. We've got live websites. And the best thing is, I think with the Lovable tool is that I can go in and put another prompt in, tell it everything that's annoying me about the website. It updates the website and I can publish it within 5 minutes. So, the idea, we just spent 5 figures on the W website 2 months ago. So, making me feel a bit silly. I mean, that's a much more polished website than this, but these tools are also very early. Like you and I got to always remind each other, we're talking about things that the average person is not talking about. Like this is not on the front page of the Herald Sun. This is niche tools at the start of their journey. So, it's only going to get better. But then like what we've spoken about, you've combined ChatGPT and NotebookLM. It's these combination of tools, that I think is becoming really, advantageous to people. And maybe I think we've also got to get better at maybe just punching in the show notes, just some of these items, or basically maybe we'll get a Substack or a LinkedIn, something going where we can just give some links to people and almost punch out the workflow for them that's easily followable. Because, I've even sort of, because I've been ranting in the office, a few of my staff are now well engaged, and it's just, I can see it in their work. Like I can now, it's got that, oh, is that from you or is that from a AI? But I don't care. It's excellent. Like I don't care what it came from. Like it's such a, these people are upgrading themselves in front of my eyes, and, you know, reviews are coming up end of June, like, you know, and people who are leveraging the tools, are going to be leveraging me. So, yeah,
Totally.
anyway, that's use the tools, and we'll do our best to try and give some real proper actions and takeaways for people.
Totally. And like we've talked about before, by upgrading yourself with AI, you're not working yourself out of a job. You're making yourself more valuable to an employer, to customers, to clients. So I think that's a really awesome example, and probably a good point to switch gears and talk about your favorite segment, the robot rundown.
Absolutely. As we always say, where the rubber meets the road in technology. And first one today for us on the robot rundown is Apple has had an interesting week, and they've moved their robotics team, which was probably busy doing nothing, into their product team, which we know this is the biggest and best product company in the world. And there's an old, long-serving steward of Apple who'd recently had the AI team moved away from him as well. He had AI and robotics, and now robotics has been moved away from him. So I think on those two fronts, they must have had a board meeting or similar where they realize they're behind, that they've had this huge advantage. Everyone's got a bloody one of their devices on them, or if not three. And they somehow managed to not have an impact on the two biggest markets, emerging markets in the world. So where they basically were all sitting there with an Apple product, all they have to do is unlock something and make it available to us. So I think that this robotics team has gone into, which is hardware, has moved with the AI unit into the product team. It's like, finally, it's like that. Now that sounds like a business that maybe Steve Jobs would have run, where it's like, we don't have divisions. We've just got to make a great product. And I think even he's, the guy that he used to work with, the British guy, is quite famous, who they worked together for a long time. He said that Steve's number one skill was that he could focus so heavily on one thing and obsess over it. And everything else he would say to his team, every other idea that came in, he would say, no time for it, no time for it, because he would go so hard on one great idea. So this feels like maybe they're aligning now finally and realizing that this whole mission of AI and robotics, product and software, is one, and they could actually own the whole space if they just got their act together.
Yeah. Maybe Tim Cook took your advice and he set up an AI board with Steve Jobs on it, and he just asked Steve what to do, and that's how they've come up with this new strategy.
Potentially, we'll check our 15 subscriber list and just see if Tim Cook is on it.
Yeah, but look, it is super exciting. I don't know heaps about it, but they are talking about a potential lineup of new robotics that Apple's going to be looking at. You know, tabletop arms for iPads, and, you know, iPads on wheels that can do deliveries and act like humanoids, non-humanoids, humanoid robots. So it feels very early for Apple in robotics, but I think they've finally realized that this is the next frontier for them.
Yeah, and I think they're in a fight against Samsung there, in terms of that sort of home use. So I've been speaking to clients for a while, like, don't go in and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on wiring all these old automations into your home. Like, the big players are coming. So if you're starting to build a house now that's going to take 18 months, just cool your jets. I don't think you're going to need a wire to solve automation in your house behind the walls. So I think that Amazon, Apple, and Samsung, for instance, are all really looking at smart homes. And they've been talking about it for a while, but the big unlock here are the models, because the hardware they probably could have had for a while. But yeah, so I just think with Apple, they're already in your home everywhere. Now they just need to link, AI, that Alexa style, with AI, Siri, into their existing products. and they can make them mobile. You know that my dream is to talk to the walls. So, we will wait for them to bring out the wall experience. But for now, it looks like they're focusing on, mobile iPads, that once they map out your house, they should be able to get around, follow you around. And if you want to, walk into a room that doesn't have a TV, they should be able to, express a hologram on the wall and allow you to watch what you want to watch. If you want to join a workout virtually, you should be able to do that wherever you are in the home. So very much a watch this space on the home front. And, we'll report back on that because it affects us, particularly at W in terms of allowing our clients to leverage all of these tools in the home.
Totally. And look, I think the play here that Apple is going to go after, and it seems obvious to me, is that they become the interface for everything AI. And what I mean by that is not every startup, but a lot of startups out there are trying to solve specific things like, I'm going to put an AI agent inside your email inbox and help you respond to emails. I'm going to watch what you're doing in the web browser. We are going to look at your chat and we're going to help you get insights from that or your documents. And everyone's creating these different apps in different areas. There's even what they're calling pendants coming out. Something you can wear around your neck that will just listen to all your conversations that you're having. And then it can store that in a model and you can go ask it questions later and get insights from it. So everyone is trying to build this digital intelligence, this second consciousness that is taking in everything that you're doing and it's putting it into a model and allowing you to then go and query that and get insights from it. And when you think about who has the best opportunity to do this, it is someone like Apple. They've already got you on the computer. They've got the operating system. They've got the phones. They've got the home, like you've mentioned. They are best positioned if they got their together to actually deliver this and this crush all of these startups who are trying it. So I think the things like the pendants and wearing something on your wrist to listen to what you're saying and for that to go into model, I think that's really cool and people are on the right track. But really, Apple should do that. They've already got the devices. Why do I need to buy another pendant to wear around my neck and look like Mark Zuckerberg? I've already got my Apple Watch on. It should be listening to me and doing all of this. So hopefully part of this move and this realignment is them saying that is the future and we're going to deliver that for you in a seamless Apple way. But they haven't done it so far with the Apple Intelligence. That's been a complete flop. So it doesn't surprise me that they've moved Siri away from this guy and the AI is getting a bit more removed and they're putting robotics and everything into this one product team. So look, hopefully that's the play that they go for because it would be exciting if they do.
Yeah, and thanks for the pendant, Shane. Before I even bring one, there is going to be a pendant on the show next week. I've had the email this morning from Limitless saying that the well-delayed pendant, which was ordered a year ago, is making its way to sunny Melbourne next week. So we might have some pendant feedback for the team at Limitless. And I think they're actually still small enough that if they were mentioned on a podcast, they would like it. So potentially
First sponsor?
we might be able to give some direct feedback. Now, you've now hurt the sponsorship. So maybe it might be a personal sponsorship. It would be personal. Look, to the good people at Limitless, thank you for delivering my thing. The delay has been well worth the wait, and we'd love to have you on board on the show. Now,
good save.
But what else apart from me trying to get some revenue? What else is going on in robotics?
Yeah, look, I think one of the big ones was Elon reposting about what he's done with Neuralink. So, Elon Musk, we don't need to explain who that is, but he runs a company called Neuralink, and that is a brain-computer interface that you can put into your head, basically. And I don't think they're actually using it on real humans, or maybe they've done a few trials, but they've done it with pigs and animals and things. And what they can have proved to do is they've got a computer chip that can read your brain so that you don't have to go and type something out. You can just think. Helpful for people who've got impairments. But the idea is that everyone will be able to use one of these and you have more bandwidth to be able to communicate with a computer rather than having to speak to it or to type it out. So he posted about the fact that robots are actually doing the Neuralink surgery instead of surgeons. And so I happen to have a really good friend who is involved in robotic surgery. So at the moment, these robots, they're not autonomous. They're still, a surgeon is still controlling them and using them. But Elon's point was these robots are getting so good that maybe soon all surgeries will just be done by robots. And look, with something as important as a human life being on the line, like, doesn't seem like we're going to put that fully over to AI anytime soon. But it brings up this concept that we go on and on and on about because we're so passionate about it, is as humans, we have the ability to control these AI agents or these robots now and be in charge. And it's really awesome to see this happening in such a critical industry, such as surgery. So you can imagine a world where maybe a surgeon is actually just running 4 surgeries at once and just keeping an eye on what the robot is doing and directing them. Imagine what that would do for the ability for people to get these surgeries, especially in, third world countries or even in America, people can't afford to get surgeries because the system is so bad. So I think it goes to show, the optimistic side of AI and seeing it in robotics. Seeing someone like Elon predicting what is possible with robotics and AI is just so cool to see.
Yeah, I think, you're looking at, like you said, the highest stakes use of human dexterity is surgery. And and what I love about that man is that that's the first thing that he goes to conquer. The other highest stakes element and the worst cause of death amongst people is basically car accidents. So the 2 hardest problems I would have thought to solve in robotics use would be full self-driving and surgery. Like, that's basically as hard as it gets in terms of an impact on human life. So solving the 2 hardest problems straight away is an amazing feat, but also it must make people shift their thinking. Like, I'm in construction. If 2 cars can drive past each other at 100 kilometers an hour with one little white lane between them, and that is 2 robots, there are no humans in either of those, and surgeries can be performed by robots. And now he was talking about humans in the loop for now, but he's not talking about humans in the loop for much longer. And sorry, like you're saying, yes, you might be managing 5 surgeries, but the robot is really performing autonomously there until it's not. Everyone needs to start thinking about something, if you're doing it with your hands, about how are you capturing your data? So that's your own IP, that's your domain expertise. So therefore you can leverage that when the technology comes to a point where you can then implement that data into whatever piece of hardware and software combination that you can now leverage to then scale your skill set. So that's just a little bit of advice, I think, for people in trades or for anyone who's using their hands to work and feels like they have a craft. One would be, am I doing things and how am I capturing, how am I delivering almost an standard operating procedure of what I do? What's the best way to capture that so that when the time comes, I can leverage my skill set and scale my skill set personally. So that's something pretty exciting.
100%. Totally agree.
Yes. And I think the final one for me on the robot space was no new news. DJI and Unitree. So DJI is the biggest drone company in the world, Chinese company. Every time you see a drone video of something silly on Instagram or some real estate agent showing off a house, there's usually behind it a bit of DJI equipment doing that for them. And Unitree, who are the probably most advanced Chinese, quite cheap Chinese. You can get a Unitree humanoid robot for $16,000 US. which haven't been ultimately impressive until now. They've just released the G1, which looks to be running. It can do like a side flip, so not a back flip or a front flip. It can side flip, which I'm not even sure I've ever seen a human do. But I have booked visits to their headquarters in China in June. So hopefully there's a podcast room somewhere close by, and we will be doing a pod from China, potentially in Shenzhen or Guangzhou. Sorry, I always pronounce them badly. But yeah, where we might even be able to hopefully play or do a demo or have some cool Chinese robotic experience on the show, because like you said, they're vertically integrated there. Their manufacturing prowess is next level, and they've been doing this for a long time. They're not just like, the hardware side of this is not new to them. So super excited to go over and geek out on Chinese robotics in June.
That is amazing. Well, I look forward to the updates from there. Hopefully we can record a pod and you'll have some humanoid robots in the background. If you manage to keep a straight face while doing that, that'll be very impressive.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Well, it's been a pleasure as always. Heaps of good news, and I look forward to doing this again next week.
Awesome, mate. Great to see you. Welcome back, and hopefully you get over the jet lag.
Hopefully so. All right. Thanks, Scotty.
Thanks, mate.
See ya.